because success happens daily, not in a day. And if you show me your day, I'll show you where your future is. Attitude in life determines your life's attitude towards you. And so it's so important to have that winning attitude. And then you have the P, which is prepare. You're either in prepare or repair. So, preparation always relieves pressure. Noah built the ark before the rain came. And then there's perform. The plan creates the track, but it's the action, David, that creates the traction. And so we must take action on what we're learning, on what we've prepared for. And then the L is learn, which we've been talking a lot about. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. To be a continual winner, you must be a habitual learner. And then the E is to evaluate. Can't pray for rain, then cry when there's mud. With opportunity comes difficulty. With opportunity comes challenge. They say hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And I simply just took the advice of Abe Lincoln. He said, good things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching this broadcast. David Moses here with Pillars of Personal Development. And I'd like to welcome all of my friends, associates from around the world. We've got something unique today, something really special. In my 34 years in this business, this may be, Chris, this may be the single greatest story of success in the industry. So you're going to pick up a lot of pearls, lots of wisdom. I would have pen and paper nearby to take notes as I welcome my good friend and business partner, Chris Estes. Chris is a father of what is it? Five. I'm losing count. An author, mentor, coach, teacher, triathlete, done the Ironman, and also a top income earner in person-to-person marketing. Chris, good to have you here. This is really cool. After the 15 years we've been together, to be doing this is great. So I don't know. I think why don't we start with tell the people watching the broadcast kind of the backstory. How'd you get started? What happened? How did we get here?
Yeah, for sure. Well, number one, thankful and grateful, David, for the opportunity. We were just talking last week about me celebrating 16 years in network marketing, 15 of those essentially all of it, us getting to know one another. So you're a big part of the story. We'll immerse into that here in a little bit. And I understand why 4 kids, 5 kids. I do have a brand new 9-month-old. So there is 5. Go ahead, married to my wife, Lindsay. We have 16, 15, 14, soon to be 12 and a 9-month-old. So we're real busy over here. And just to rewind, give a quick backstory. I'm from Kentucky. I still live here in Kentucky. I'm from a real small town where front teeth are optional, and grew up in humble beginnings. Had to work to earn money to buy my first car, and was into sports. And I was fortunate to earn a scholarship, David, to college to play baseball. So I played baseball in college, earned a degree in education, a master's degree in counseling, went on to be a school teacher and coach of multiple sports. And this is really where the story begins, David. A knock on my door, and it was opportunity. Opportunity knocked on my door. A friend who I trusted, and I believe trust is a must in relational network marketing, building business, entrepreneurship. And he knocked on my door. And when the opportunity knocks, you can't be in the backyard looking for a 4-leaf clover. And, a mentor, it might have been you, David, said that, opportunities are never lost. Someone will always take the opportunity. And so for me, when my friend introduced me to network marketing, the opportunity, because I trusted him, I took a look. And as I was looking, I did something that I encourage all of our listeners, all the viewers, all the people that are following you, David, and wanting to learn and grow, is I did something called a life audit. And what that means is I simply looked at my life, and what I learned is I had full-time jobs, school teacher, coach of multiple sports, but I had a part-time life. And I was going to spend my life raising everyone else's kids and never see my own kids if I didn't make a change. And I understand the only person that likes to change is a wet baby, but your life doesn't get better by chance. Your life gets better by change. And my problem, and the problem, David, for most people that are looking to get started in something new, is I had something called the FUD factor, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I was asking the wrong questions. I was saying, well, if David, I had the money, I could get started in the business. If I had, more time, I'd get started in the business. David, if I had the experience like you did or have, I'd get started. And I remember a mentor once said, he said, Chris, if frogs had pockets, they'd carry guns and shoot snakes, but frogs don't have pockets and frogs don't shoot snakes. You see what I had to do, David, and you helped me throughout the initial phases of my business. But before I even started, I had to change my perspective. I had to change how I was looking at the challenge, at the opportunity at hand. And I remember the story, whether you believe it or not, the Israelite army, they're looking up at this giant and they're saying, oh, he's so big, we can't kill him. And then there was this little giant. He looked up, this little shepherd boy, he looked up at the same giant and he said, he's so big, I can't miss. And so what I did is I changed my perspective and I said, I don't have the money, but I have a card called Master. And so I was able to start that business 16 years ago, David, using something called OPM, other people's money. I didn't have the time, but what I did is I changed my perspective of busyness with a Y and I turned it into a business with an I. And then I learned I didn't have to have experience. I had people, David, like you, who had the success, who had the track record that could guide me to success. And so I simply just took the advice of Abe Lincoln. He said, good things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. And so I took action, Dave.
Let's talk about perspective for a moment. Two things. How old were you when you actually got started in being an entrepreneur?
So 29 years, the door knocked, and I think I just turned 30 when I started. I literally started the business. So 30 years old.
So you had all kinds of education, a master's degree, teacher, so forth. So a traditional education. Where did personal development come into changing perspective and your horizons and possibilities and what you could do, what you could be, what you could contribute? Where did that come in?
Essentially, immediately, David, I would say I started, and again, the key to getting ahead in life, key to getting ahead in business is to get started. And so thankfully, I was able to start because of the perspective change. And a couple of things, David, before I immersed in the personal development game, and was something that's so important in the network marketing space, I believe that was helpful for me because I had no business experience. I had no network marketing experience. There was that uncertainty. And so the first thing that happened, David, for me when I started was I earned a check. And because I was coachable, not chokeable, I was able to follow, say, your lead. And I was able to bring on a couple of people and I earned a check. And what did that do, David? It bought time. It created a runway. It built the belief and some hope. And because of that runway, what did I do? I then started to immerse myself in a change of the way I thought. My philosophy changed, the mindset. And how did I do that? Through personal development to start getting some bread for the head every day.
So changing thought. Let's focus on this for a moment. There's a whole new generation, as you know, especially with your young kids and so forth, Gen Z, millennials, and then, of course, the people in their 40s and 50s, Gen X, many of whom have been, brought up with a smartphone, brought up on social media. who don't necessarily have the interpersonal skills slash leadership skills, because most of the time is spent on digital conversations online. Where does how important do you think personal development is? Based on all the books that you read and the work that you did in that area, where does that fit in today's world for this generation? What would you do now, as an example, with what you know?
Well, I think, I'm always going against the grain, David. I think a lot of times people use social media as a crutch, actually, or they use what's accessible to them. And I look at it as, gosh, our kids have phones. They have access to, say, podcasts that we didn't have access to. The speed, in this business and entrepreneur, success loves speed. And if you were trying, I don't know if it was Earl or whoever it was, they said, empty your purse into your mind, and your mind will fill your purse with gold. And so if every single day you were to build a rhythm and a cadence of growing yourself, and on your way to work or on your way to school or whatever age you are, if you were to take a handful of minutes and listen to some good words, some positive, some optimism, grow your mind, grow yourself, then what happens over time is you change the way you look at things. And you start to see possibilities that you didn't see before. Versus when I looked at network marketing in 2008, David, I said impossible. When I immersed myself in growing through reading books and listening, it looked as I'm possible. All I did is put an apostrophe after the I. So it's a change in the way you view things is how essentially you do things. So I think whether you're 16, and I've got one, a 15 and a 14, they were actually just at a
16. You got a 16. You had none when we met.
It's great. It's crazy. And they were just at a business event, a mindset event with lots of speakers, top speakers like Ed Milet, and they were taking notes. So to say they can't do what we once did, they can do it with speed. There's so much available for them to really suck in that knowledge and that wisdom. They then just have to apply it. We know action supersedes anything. So action with knowledge is power.
Well, you said, I remember a quote that you said, and it stuck with me for, almost 2 decades now coming up. You said, "You may out-earn me, but you will never out-learn me." I remember that back in the day. What kind of books did you read? I mean, okay, people can watch podcasts now, things like that, but you also went through a lot of books, underlining, highlighting, devouring knowledge.
That was, I didn't have they say hard work beats talent when talent fails to work hard. And so I didn't look at myself when I joined network marketing as the most skilled. I really had no business or sales skills. I had skills as an educator, skills as a coach, skills as an athlete. And of course, I was able to take some of those attributes and create and build a culture that way. But I said, man, in order for me to have any level of competition to a David Moses, who has all of this success and all of this wisdom and this big track record, what I have to do is I have to outlearn him. And so I said, I'm going to build a plan, and I'm going to start reading every day, even though I'm busy. Now, listen, somebody's going to say, David, well, but I'm so busy. I have this work, and I did too. I was working. I was at school at 7, and it maybe been 7 at night before I would get done with coaching. But what I said is every day I'm going to read 5 pages in the morning, 5 pages at night. That's 10 pages, 30 days essentially in a month. That's 300 pages, more than typically one book a month. Right. And I'm just going to read 1 or 2 books a month. And like you said, I'm going to highlight, underline, and at the end, I'm then going to take notes and, use my laptop, take notes, print those out, put them in a binder, and review them so that they become part of who I am. And then I will implement them. I will teach, train, so that I can duplicate out to the team what I'm learning through all the books. So, of course, there's books like The Compound Effect. There's books like The Magic of Thinking Big, which was a huge book for me, David, on the front end. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, a different way of how you think about time, the way you think about money, the abundance and prosperity of how you can look at things differently. So there's so many books that I read. Of course, Think and Grow Rich, which came later in the process. I think that's a phenomenal book, but maybe not the first book you start if you've never read.
You read the book, right? I'm a little old school, right? I got the audio cassettes.
Nice.
So I mean, you may not know what that is because this is old school stuff, but it's amazing. Your trajectory was rather extraordinary. Most people go through a number of companies and challenges along the way. You managed to have extraordinary success the very first time. But you know what? I'm sure it all wasn't, how should I say, yellow brick road. I have no doubt that there were challenges along the way. I know of a couple of little speed bumps, but maybe you want to share, a couple of the really difficult moments, and how that actually, builds character, and is a prerequisite for success.
It really is the failing forward process, embracing what we would call the suck, embracing the suck. Most people, they only experience the suck, if you will, knowing that's only part of the word. See, if you fight through the suck, 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 you get to the back end of the word, which is seed, succeed. And if you want to have success, then you have to fight through the challenge and the pain and the strain. And, I had lots of flips, flops, fumbles, and failures on the front end, David. My wife, Lindsay, she tells me screwing up's a spiritual gift of mine. I had so much rejection when I started. My motto turned into tell me no and watch me go.
You actually had rejection? Really?
Lots of it. But, they say you can't pray for rain, then cry when there's mud. With opportunity comes difficulty. With opportunity comes challenge. And, what challenge you will change you. If it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. And so for me, when I started, I had the no's, I had the rejection, the ridicule, the opposition. I remember there was a community member at one point, David, he said, Chris, how do you sleep at night knowing you have all that rejection, ridicule, opposition? I said, I sleep like a baby. I wake up every 2 hours crying. And so there was just lots of pain. And when I walked into the school for the first 2 years, David, you want to talk about challenge, having a 6-foot-plus monster that I walked into school who was a fellow teacher would say Kool-Aid.
I know this story.
You're selling the Kool-Aid. Chris, you're drinking the Kool-Aid. He would make fun of me so that all the teachers would know, oh, y'all watch out. Here comes Chris. He's going to tell you about his business. He's going to try to sell you every day, Kool-Aid. And so imagine having to embrace that every single day when you're getting hit with rejection and you're getting hit with some of the difficulties and the frustrations of building your business. And so that's where the personal development comes into play, is I had to rely, David, on the reading of the books, listening to the audios. Because if you want the higher things in life, you have to stand on the books you read. You have to stand on the podcast and the mentors you follow. And so for me, I was able to and not just go through the challenge, but grow through the challenges because I bought in to the personal development process.
Okay, so this new generation, they spend so much time on the inside, right? They're in what I like to call they're in self, right? On social media, taking selfies and their Instagram profile. And all of it is really kind of self, right? How do they go from, being inside to going external to the rest of the world? How do they communicate with the rest of the world? I mean, how would you translate what you've learned and what you've become and what you're becoming to this next generation? They're watching this, hearing your story going, what do I do, right? If you were to give them a half a dozen pearls or things to focus on, what would that look like? And I know I didn't prep you for these, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you didn't prep me for the question, but I live it out every day. And I live it because I have 3 teenagers that think they're adults already, that think they know it all, that have some technology privileges, and maybe we're very guarded of some things that we do, but I understand the next gen because I live with them. I teach and train and I coach them already. So I can only share, David, what we share with them. And one of the first tips is the company that you keep will determine the success that you reap. And that's something that we hammer with the kids, which is the people that you hang around. You are the average of the 5 people that you hang around. And that's whether, David, you're on Instagram or whatever social media outlet.
I love that.
What entertains you, trains you, what you tune into, you turn into. So we're about, even though we love offense, I'm a sports guy. So and I know you're a hockey guy. You're like,
I used to be a hockey guy. I'm a golf guy now.
Yeah. Either way, though, you like that puck going into the goal. That's offense. But one of the things that people don't talk about is defense. And so what we do, David, is we really talk about being on guard of the things that you read, being on guard with the things that you watch, being on guard with the things that you listen to, being on guard with the people that you hang around with. And that goes back into the company that you keep will determine the success that you reap. So it's important that there's, currently people in our life that may not be qualified to be in our future. And we have to be cautious of what our goals are, what we're trying to achieve. And that would be another piece there.
And these are things that you have obviously picked up, internalized, and realized from personal development, the books, the training.
It's 16 years, David, of starting again. The start stops most people. And so when I started in 08, I didn't quit in 09. It was a continual evolvement of growing. I always tell people getting in requires getting out. Meaning getting in this business requires you getting out of something that you're currently doing.
But these concepts apply not just to this business, probably anything, right? Traditional doesn't matter.
Real estate, insurance, it doesn't matter. Any form of sales. It's unbelievable, David. Can you still see me, by the way?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're good.
It's unbelievable how these concepts, what we do in our business, correlates to everything anyone else does in their business, which is why the reason back in 2013, after some years of success and struggle, I created a book that I teach to our kids called A.P.P.L.E.
I wanted to bring up the book next. I said, so you accumulated all of this knowledge, wisdom, experience, from actually doing it, right? I mean, this is not lecture stuff this is stuff that you've lived, and you wrote a book. Tell us about the book.
Well, I didn't mention it to create a plug. Obviously, it's nothing more than a value add. But I really did the book for myself, which was to use my experiences, to use some of the struggles, to use some of the pain and strain. And, I was running around like a chicken with my head cut off on the front end. And you had to develop and maximize those 86,400 seconds. That's 24 hours, 86,400 seconds. So how are you capturing those seconds? And as I was doing the business part-time, there wasn't a ton of seconds. And so what I had to do is figure out what are those big things I can do every single day. And there were 5, what I call eating your apple. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. That's that saying. Well, for me, it was an apple a day brings success your way. an apple being that being an acronym, A.P.P.L.E. So the A, attitude. It's your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude. We've heard that before. To be a winner, not a whiner. To see your cup half filled, not half spilled. To talk about where we're going to, not what we're going through. It's a choice. It's what we talk and share with our kids who are in this new generation. But all of us, if we had that winning attitude, your life and your attitude in life determines your life's attitude towards you. And so it's so important to have that winning attitude. And then you have the P, which is prepare. You're either in prepare or repair. So, preparation always relieves pressure. Noah built the ark before the rain came. And then there's perform. The plan creates the track, but it's the action, David, that creates the traction. And so we must take action on what we're learning, on what we've prepared for. And then the L is learn, which we've been talking a lot about. It's what you learn after you know it all that counts. To be a continual winner, you must be a habitual learner. And then the E is to evaluate. We should all keep score on all the things that are important to us in our lives, certainly in our business ventures, of tracking what's important. And so you want to assess to progress. What does your scorecard look like every day, every week, every month? And that's going to progress you. Thus, the apple. Eat your apple every day. Look what happens to your life, to your business. So something simple, practical, applicable. Anybody can take action on with the whole apple concept.
Couple things, Chris. While we're on the topic of the book, where would people find this book, or if they want to purchase?
Just simply go to Amazon, type in the Apple Principle, and my name, Chris Estes, and there it is.
All right, very, very nice. Now, so today, right, here we are a couple decades later, almost a couple decades. Who are you following now, like online, as an example? If you're watching any podcasts, or where are you going from here?
Yeah, so of course I still read books, actual books, but I will say we in fact have a book series. We call it Estes Academy, and the kids have certain books they have to read to qualify to earn things. And one, the 16-year-old just finished his first book series, which is 10 literal books he had to read. But they just like me immerse themselves in a lot of podcasts. I follow Ed Milet. He's a big one that I follow. Craig Rochelle. There's lots of different, John Maxwell. There's lots of top leaders in different areas.
What a simple concept. I would have liked to have incorporated that. Would have minimized some of the entitlement stuff.
That's what we're fighting, David. We're the beauty of opportunity and reaping the benefit of taking action and learning and growing and building, learning financial education, financial literacy, learning how to grow people, grow money, build systems, is you do get rewarded for that. And we fight and have to train our kids because they have things certainly I didn't have growing up. And so it's important, we tell our kids, if you're not humble, you will stumble. And so don't think less of yourself, just think of yourself less. And it's important for our kids to be focused on serving, on giving, on being a value add to our community and to the people that they're around. And so that's something I think everyone listening to this should ask, am I doing those things? Because that's where you're going to change your game. That's where you're going to get in rooms. I always tell people, David, if you're the head of the class, you're in the wrong class. You want to be in rooms that have done it bigger, better, faster. And in order to get into those rooms, you have to do those little things every day. They say by the mile, it's a trial, by the yard, it's hard, by the inch, it's a cinch. And that's where that every day you do those little things, those little actions that build up over time.
So let's, in kind of bringing things to a close, what if there were a couple of parting words you would share with our audience, from your experience over your lifetime, how would you succinctly put that?
Well, the
What
first
would
thing
you
I
share
would
with
say,
us?
just looking at my own story, David, and going back 16 years ago, again, like you said, alluded to earlier, I was educated. I was formally educated, but as I think maybe Jim Rohn said, formal education will make you a living. It's self-education that'll make you a fortune. And I'm not necessarily just talking about money. I'm talking about choices, options, freedoms, the leverage.
Right.
And if you want that, you have to get started, and then you have to maintain what I call the GOS, David, which is that grand opening spirit, being able to share with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm costs nothing to have, it costs everything not to. And so to have that energy, that authentic excitement for you to go out and share your message, to share and to be an authentic value adder, to make deposits into people. Because David, if you build a rhythm and a habit of depositing into people, meaning you're adding value, you're being able to share with them knowledge, wisdom, things that you have learned,
Yeah.
and David, things that you have learning. The last thing people want is a stale leader. If you've ever eaten a cracker, like a saltine cracker, man, when they're fresh, they're good. When they're stale, they're woo. And so
Right.
people are attracted to authentic, real leaders who are continually learning themselves. And so I think it's important to have that grand opening spirit, to be able to share something new that you're learning, share some new things that maybe you've fallen, you're continuing to fail yourself. So that fail forward concept, having that grand opening spirit, I think is just so important, David.
All right. Last thing, Chris. Couple of your key pillars for success or personal development. What would you call your footings or pillars?
Yeah, so I would go back, David, to I would have to go back to my book, right? Which is those fundamental actions. Like how are you building your day? Because success happens daily, not in a day. And if you show me your day, I'll show you where your future is. And so I
I
think
like that.
it's so important, David, for people to build that cadence and that rhythm. What are those KPIs? What are those KPIs, key performance indicators, that's moving you towards what you call success or significance? What are those IPAs, those income producing activities? I call them big rocks, David. Where am I putting those big rocks, or those MVPs, those most valuable priorities, David, that's going to move me to grow in all the different areas of life that I consider important? And if we were to focus in on those every single day, what's going to happen is the inch by inch, you're going to start moving yourself forward to success, and moving yourself into those rooms with those people that are going to, move you to the next level. So that's what I would say there, Dave.
Fantastic. Chris, thank you so much for joining us on Pillars of Personal Development. A fantastic story. In my 34 years, maybe one of the best I've seen. And I wish you continued success, because I know you're not finished.
No doubt. I appreciate you, David. Thanks for all you do.